Hello, my name is Francis Fox, and I'm here to give you the information about what's going to happen for you or some influences from the planets from between the 20th and I believe it's the 26th of October 2025. I'm a remote viewer trained in interspecies communication. I'm now teaching my followers, which we call the Mantrista movement because it's based on mantras. By the way, cannabinoid receptors, which is what science says receives cannabis when you smoke or ingest cannabis. Um, those are the strings of the mind from string theory, and mantras liberate the mind. When you have a disease, it's because your mind strings are grabbing onto some issues with emotions for a long time. That area gets intoxicated. You end up with a disease, depending upon where it is that your cannabinoid receptors grabbed stuff, memory, emotions, etc. So I'm putting out a book within, I hope, 2 weeks on cannabis with what the dolphins have told me. The dolphins were considered gods by the Greeks. They're the ones who gave us Aristotle and Plato, so they should know. And they've given me a lot of information having to do with cannabis that will help to quickly get it into its proper position as a powerful tool in this age in which there's an excess of the fire element and there's an excess of insomnia, frustration, anger, violence, physical violence, emotional violence, and suicide, all of which are due to excess fire. And cannabis reduces that because it's a female plant, which most people don't know. So let's go ahead and get into the horoscopes. Well, I'm going to do the same thing now in English, even though I know most of my followers in English have a much smaller lens, and I've trained my followers to widen their lens historically, and in terms of the way they look at things, and it makes it a lot easier, especially when we're moving from one era of Pisces into the age of Aquarius. We are becoming part of a galactic family, which means maybe within 10 days we're going to have evidence of ETs landing. Certainly it all points in that direction. So how wide is your lens, and how quickly can you make it wider so that you can understand what's going on and not end up feeling like a victim? I was noticing the No Kings parade today and the observation by the media that's following it that sarcastically they said that nobody under 80. That's not true. But I would say 60s, people that are 60s and 70s years old. And that is understandable because we are going into something totally new, just with the AI. And the older you get, the more stuck you get. So the whole thing is to widen your lens so that you can roll with the punches and so that you don't end up trashing yourself because it's hard for you to accept all the new stuff. So I'm going to read your horoscope for the week through the lens of how are you going to react, or what do you need to know so that everything that's going on today, and the main thing that's going on really big in these last couple of weeks and the next couple, are those green objects that are coming towards the planet. Now, how dumb do you have to be to continue to call them comet or meteorite or something of that nature, and at the same time say that they change directions and they send signals? How dumb do you have to be, or how stuck in your ways do you have to be to refuse to accept that there's obviously conscious decisions being made by beings that are not on planet Earth, which means they're aliens? And don't you remember that the devil is an alien? The devil is a being. It's not originally from this planet. The angels are aliens. They don't have a presence on the physical dimension. So you have to get with the program. So maybe these horoscopes might help you to find if you have a weakness, or if you're really going to be able to roll with the punches with what everybody from Trump to Elon is saying is going to happen within, I think they're surprised it hasn't happened already, like a big collapse, they don't say it's a collapse, like this huge change that we're not expecting. Now, my movement, we went in 2 nights in a row. We're going to do it again. We went into those green objects. They're spaceships and they're beings there. And one of my followers sent me something which he didn't say during the chat. They get embarrassed. And this is what she said she saw, and a lot of people saw that same type being. But just a cute story, and then we'll go into the horoscopes. Somebody during the chat last night, which the intention was to go into these spaceships that are headed towards Earth, and she said she could see figures like dinosaurs and reptiles. And I had already been there. I talked to them. It's very easy. And one of them, I immediately saw a dinosaur, and it was shaking my hand. And then it said, I can't kiss your feet because I can't get all the way down there. In other words, it was such a clumsy, big body, like a joke. And I am going to remind everybody again that they should get a photograph, a screenshot of that scene in Star Wars where Han Solo walks into a bar. I think it's called Saturno bar. Somebody told me yesterday. And all these beings are sitting there talking to each other. And they're all different. They look weird. That's basically, and I've been saying this for years, and that's basically where we're going. Community. So just because they're different doesn't mean it's bad. Not easy. So we have a mantra that we're suggesting to everybody, which I will have somebody put up on screen, or I will put it up in a few minutes. Please, God, help me with my intention to see me. What was the mantra? Put it in Spanish and I'll translate it if you don't know the English. But anyway, we have a mantra that you should start doing from right now and give it to everybody. And basically, it's just saying that the process be miraculously elegant and beneficial. Some people are going to do better. Whatever the shakeup is that's coming, some people are going to do better, but only because they're rolling with the punches and they're available to work in a new system, which is what's happening with the No Kings Parade, the people who are in their 60s, 70s, and 80s. It's hard to change at that age, especially if nobody ever trained you to widen your lens to the possibilities. I also want to remind you that the only group that I know that is always referring to aliens when they do their ceremonies and their prayers are the Buddhists. You don't get that in the Catholic religion. You don't get that with the pastors. I mean, maybe every once in a while they say, let's pray for them, whatever, but it's not part of what they have. That's a baseline of what it is they're teaching and they're using to help their people. In Buddhism, they do. You can widen your lens. I'm not saying you should become a Buddhist. You can't become a Buddhist. It's not a religion. It's a philosophy. But maybe widen your lens and work with people that actually kind of already been there and might be able to help to land and to ground this that is going to happen. Okay, let's go ahead and start. We're going to start with Aries, as usual. I'm not an astrologer. I'm a remote viewer, but I do a lot of business consulting. I do medical consulting. I trained a racehorse and it won first place international in a big competition. I was really happy about that because I love animals. It was not hard. I actually had to train the rider because the horse was ready to go. The horse was up to it. It was the synchronization of the rider with the horse that was what I needed to do coaching on. Okay, let's start with Aries. Aries is a male sign. All astrological signs are either male or female. And it is a fire sign, which means it's of the fire element, which means that Aries is going to struggle more with the element of fire than the other elements. That's why we choose it before we come in, because in working with the element, we end up achieving something wonderful, different for everybody. So Aries, what do you need to know about this shift? Everything that's saying something's going to happen, something big's going to happen. I see you nervous, and I see you with your hand in your pocket, and you're jiggling something in your pocket because you're nervous. And you're nervous, you're a little bit curious, but you're nervous. So I would suggest you do the mantra, which let me get it up on screen now so that it can be here. This is our store, which I did that before we started. So this is the mantra, which is repeated in silence. I'm not remembering this. Please, God, help me with my intention that whatever it is that it is, be miraculously graceful and beneficial. Okay. There has to be at least one mistake, or we'll know that I did not do this. For some reason, I cannot. I do know how to spell. So this is the mantra. You repeat it silently without moving your mouth. Please, God, help me with my intention that left the word out, be miraculously graceful and beneficial. Whatever it is that everybody's saying it's going to happen, it's going to be big, it's going to change the world, whatever it is. That, in my opinion, those green things on their way here are spaceships, and it is not bad. But the ontological shock of people may end up causing the collapse of many things. So we want it to be miraculously graceful and beneficial. And if you want at the end, Aries, you can put beneficial to me. And if you want, instead of please God help me, you can say please God help us, and then you make it more community. Okay, so there you go. You're a little bit curious, you're nervous. Do the mantra, and instead of reacting, you're going to be constructing a future that you want, where whatever this big event is, it's going to be graceful, it's going to be beneficial. Okay? Let's go on to the next sign, which is Taurus, which is a female sign, and it's an earth sign. Earth element. They can be stuck, they can be stubborn, hard time making decisions, but they're very grounding. So having one on your team is really good. So what do you need to know, Taurus, having to do with whatever it is that everybody's saying something big is going to happen? Okay. You're curious. I see you looking up and you're curious. And I don't see whatever it is that the event might be, I don't see it shaking you to your core at all. So you are almost ready. If you do this mantra, and there we go with the miraculously graceful and beneficial, the beneficial part is very good for Taurus. They always want to position themselves so they don't have to worry. So this mantra will be very good for you, Taurus. I don't think you're going to be a liability, whatever it is that happens. Okay? So let's continue on to the next sign, which is Gemini. Gemini is a male sign, and it's the element of air. Thinking. And Geminis can be like two people. One is very childish and fun, and the other one is very mental. Trump is a Gemini. So Gemini, how are you going to deal with, I see the Gemini looking up. So I think this has to do with something from off planet. And you're like, okay, trying to figure it out. And what does this really mean now? What's it going to mean in a month? So the Gemini is looking up, not hiding, and is trying to figure out what this happening, whatever it is going to mean. Again, Trump is a Gemini, and he's the president, and many people say he's working with the Galactic Federation, and I personally have actually seen that. So, for whatever that's worth, we're very fortunate. And when I do the maps of the United States, where I'm mapping energies, most of the time when I'm mapping the symbol of the Star of David, which is not a Jewish symbol. It was incorporated as a Jewish symbol I don't know, 1,000 years ago, I don't know. But it's been a symbol for 6,000 years in Tibet and with the Hopi Indians. So, and the United States always has it, and it symbolizes the protection of the Galactic Federation. So I think we should be more okay than most places because of Trump's relationship, because he has a very wide lens. And it looks like he did not allow anybody to say, but do you really believe in that? And why should we even? He just went with whatever it is that's presenting to at least explore, and apparently a lot more than that. So we're going to continue on to the next sign. I'm not trying to sell anybody on anything. Cancer. Cancer is a female sign and it is a water sign. Water is emotions. So how is Cancer going to do? Cancer is going to get very nervous. Whatever it is that's going to be going on, happening, very nervous, but nervous thinking about the kids, the children, and the family, and what's going to happen, and everybody, and oh my God, and what happens if they don't have work? In other words, the usual worry, wart, Cancer attitude to everything. I'm a Cancer. The usual. So that's why the mantras are so important, because it substitutes that constant worrying and thinking and trying to figure it out, and how it substitutes it. And if you do an intention mantra, which is what we're suggesting, it substitutes it with vitalizing the intention that you want, regardless of what the event might be. Okay, and it's right there on screen. Please God help me with my intention, that it be miraculously graceful and beneficial. And if you want to put at the end for all, that's fine. Or miraculously graceful and beneficial for my bank account, but that's too limited, because you're thinking that the bank account is the ultimate, but we don't really know that, because it's going to be a whole new world. Okay, so don't limit yourself. Next sign is Leo, which is a male sign, and it's a fire sign. Leo, how are you going to do? I see you doing well. Leo, for a couple of years, has been burning up with frustration, blaming everybody for everything, not really taking responsibility, not doing the master thing. When you're a master, something happens and you stop and you go, why did I need for this to happen? You don't go, who did this and you have to pay me and it's your fault. I forgive you, but it's your fault. You don't do that. You go, why did I need for this to happen? This that's stopping me in this particular arena. What is it that I didn't pay attention to? What do I need to take care of? And Leo is no longer blaming everybody else, in a rage, blaming everybody else. They're working with whatever it is that they're working with. So they're doing really, really well. In terms of whatever happening, I see them a little bit nervous, Leos, in terms of, oh God, I have to figure this out, because Leos like to kind of look good and they want to look like they kind of know what's going on. It's not that they want to be the leader and I'm the one, everybody follow me, I know everything. No, they just want to feel like they know what's going on. So I think you're doing really well, Leo. I think you're going to be okay. Try the mantra. It'll make it even better. You can vitalize the intention that whatever it is that's going to go on, that it be graceful and beneficial. And you figure out if you want to add a word after the word beneficial. Always repeat this in silence. Do not ever move your mouth with the words, because then you get exhausted and you can't do enough of them. Okay? Many people do mantras with Catholic rosary or Buddhist mala. I can't go to bed without one of these. And then they wake up in the middle of the night, they go back to the mantras. And after a while, a lot of people say that they'll wake up in the middle of the night and they're doing the mantra. And they were sleeping and they're still doing the mantra, which is really good. You don't have to think for the mantra to work. You just have to repeat the words. Okay. Did I do Cancer? Yes, I did. They're going to worry and they need to do the mantra to direct that energy towards vitalizing an intention, which is on screen. Let's go ahead. We did Leo. Darn. We're going to go to Virgo. Virgo is a female sign and an earth sign. They can get stuck, but they're very grounding. So if you had a team, having an earth sign like Virgo is really good. So what is going to happen with Virgo? I see Virgo very thoughtful, but very grounded. I don't see Virgo going into a tizzy or getting really nervous or like Cancer. Oh my God, what's going to happen to my family? I see Virgo just standing there and taking it in and like thoughtful. And this is good. We need grounded people, not just earth energy people, but grounded people. In this case, we're talking about an earth energy, but this is excellent. So Virgo will end up being an asset. It would be good for you to have a Virgo around if something big happens, which basically everybody's predicting. There's no way we're going to get out of the next several weeks without something huge changing the planet. The Mayans didn't say the world was going to end. The Mayans said that the world as we knew it was going to end. And that certainly is happening, even without anything dropping from the sky into our laps. Okay, next. Libra. Libra is a male sign and it's an air sign, thinking thoughts. And Libras are a bit of a perfectionist, so they can make themselves a little bit miserable. I see Libra the same as when I did the horoscopes in Spanish. Libra's not happy because Libra doesn't know what's going on, and Libra needs to do research. Libra needs to understand to be able to get a grip on stuff. The truth of the matter is, Libra, what you really need to do is, rather than reacting to what it is that's going on, you need to become proactive and vitalize your intention of what you want. You're not going to be able to, any of us, we're not going to be able to say, I feel, specifically, like me. Okay, so they're going to come down, so I want them to paint my house green, or I want my bank account to be filled within 30 days. Those type of specifics, we kind of know that's silliness. But with a wider lens, such as the mantra that we have on screen, help me with my intention that it be miraculously graceful and beneficial. We're talking about this happening, whatever it is that it is. So Libra, you can vitalize that rather than berating yourself because you don't have all this information. It's new. You can't possibly have all the information. So you don't use this as another excuse, Libra, to beat up on yourself. How's that? Just do the mantra and you'll be helping to be part of the creation process. Okay, continuing on with Scorpio. Scorpio is a female sign and it's a water sign. Water signs are all about emotions. Water is emotion in metaphysics. So, Scorpio, everybody's looking to Scorpio for answers. And Scorpio's like, okay. And Scorpio's talking to people. And then Scorpio goes into a closet. And inside the closet, he's trying to figure it out. Okay, well, so if we do this that I suggested, then what do we do? But not scared, but not really quite as in control of the situation as the people around Scorpio assume that Scorpio is totally in charge of the information, whatever. So it's good. It's good. Scorpio's there to help, and Scorpio's available to be a support. And Scorpio wants to know what's going on to be able to make good decisions and be able to help adequately. This is all good. Scorpio, in order to be able to not just go into compulsive thinking about, oh my God, what is it I'm supposed to be doing? Just do this mantra. Again, the mantras work on the mind strings, which are the cannabinoid receptors. So taking cannabis is probably, it is very helpful. I don't know what your belief system is, so that's why I'm being careful about the way I say it. This is such silliness. Mustard comes from a plant. We have not legalized or scheduled mustard. Dandelion, which everybody is on because it's for digestion, and all of our digestion are shot. It's not scheduled. Why is cannabis scheduled? Cannabis is scheduled because it puts out fire, and fire, the food of the devil. It's really, honestly, that simple. But you have to have a wider lens, because if not, you go, that's ridiculous. Okay, next. Sagittarius is a male sign, and it is of the element of fire. Sagittarius has not been doing well. Sagittarius has not been doing well. I think after many months of reading Sagittarius, I would say that Sagittarius has not lived what they really want or who they really are. They've been moving with the pack, many times the leader of the pack, but not really not really living what's satisfactory for them. Living for others without looking like a martyr, looking like a leader. So where is Sagittarius going to be? Basically, not the center of attention, not in a leading position, kind of like maybe all the people that Sagittarius was kind of the leader of totally fall off with whatever it is, that event, situation that might be happening. So I see Sagittarius a bit lost. Kind of like, okay, so where are my people? What I saw when I did this in Spanish is that the dictator of Venezuela is a Sagittarius. And I saw him and I thought it was funny because he was like, where's everybody? He was like the center of the universe, the center of attention, because he's got to move out of Venezuela and got all this stuff going on. And when I look at next week, he's going, where's everybody? In other words, nobody's paying attention to him because something big was happening. And it's not like a civil war. So I think that it would be good for Sagittarius to do the mantra. And again, if you have other suggestions that are as effective as a mantra, please share them. So let's continue. Capricorn is the next sign. Capricorn is a female sign and it's an earth sign. And Capricorn is just simply going to be very irritable because Capricorns like to have everything under control. They want to know what's going on. They want to be in control of what's going on. They don't know what's going on. They're going to find out what's going on, and then they'll kind of figure out what they need to do to get everything positioned so they can take care of their family and them. And in this case, it's just too much for Capricorn in the sense that Capricorn is like not confused, irritated, because it has to learn a whole new system and everything needs to get adjusted. So I just see crankiness from Capricorn. No specific direction. The mantra, by the way, is very soothing. Very soothing. So try that. Okay, Olgita says she's a Taurus Gemini, and it's quite accurate. That's good. I'm glad. Okay, continuing on. Aquarius, the most evolved of all the mind signs, an air sign. And Aquarius is totally lost. Aquarius is nowhere. I mean, nowhere. Not moving in any direction, not moving back, not sitting down, not denying, not accepting, just no place. And I think what I see is that Aquarius is in a state of shock because they don't have. Normally, Aquarius will have a reaction and a thought about things, very elegant, not emotional. And in this case, Aquarius is at a loss for words and for reactions. And that's not comfortable for Aquarius. So I suggest the mantra, unless you come up with something better, and working diligently to figure out whatever's been written. You're talking about the entire history of the planet. I mean, what does the Bible say about the arrival of ETs? Because if it didn't say anything, then we got a little bit of a problem there moving forward. And that is one of the reasons why I like Buddhism. Buddhism is not a religion. You can be a Catholic and a Buddhist. All of their ceremonies and all of their prayers always include off-planet beings. And you know what's interesting? Nobody ever asked them why they do that. So we're going to continue on to the last sign. And the last sign is Pisces, which is a female sign, and it's a water sign, which is emotions. Pisces, I see from here up on your head spinning. Lots of depression in the spinning. Globs of depression are getting thrown off. And I see you in a crowd, and you're not necessarily tall, but you look like you're taller than everybody else, and you can see above their heads. In other words, you have a very wide, long-range vision, very third eye, psychic vision that gets stimulated by whatever it is that is going to go on. And I see you standing there and understanding what it is that you're seeing, maybe not able to verbalize it because maybe we don't have the language for whatever it is, but I see you seeing it and understanding and anchoring. not getting all caught up in the hysteria of whatever it is that might happen. That's good. Thank you, Pisces. You will end up being an asset. Okay. That was the last sign. There's no more signs for me to go to. So we have, in the Mantresa movement, we have gone already twice to those green objects that are coming towards us. Within 10 minutes, we knew that they weren't just objects coming towards us, that they were spaceships, or at least they're an object, but inside of them are aliens. And several people were able to communicate nicely. The first time we got together last night, everybody was doing very well in terms of communicating. Interspecies communication is done, it's a telepathy. And I'll remind you of the book if you don't know it. You may not be as old as I am, but in the 60s, there was a book put out called Psychic Discoveries Behind the Iron Curtain. It's old. It's not that I'm suggesting you read it, but I'm going to refer to one study in there which said Russia's very large, so they have several languages within Russia, not like the United States where the language is English. So they did an experiment in two different cities. They had a woman in one city who spoke a language, and in another city, they had another woman, and her language was different. They didn't know each other's language, and they did this experiment. And what they found was that they would send the message telepathically to the other woman in their language, but they would receive from the other woman a telepathic message in their own language. There was no issue of whether they understood or not. They understood. It was telepathy. I've always known that. I believe that telepathy is the original language of the planet. And that got beaten out of us. Or that thing in the Bible, Temple of Babel. They knocked it down and made different sections of people because they didn't want people to connive together. So it's the whole thing about being able to communicate is really a belief system that's antiquated, but that's drilled into us. And then for many people, the fear that if they buy into it, then they'll have to hide it because some people really don't like what's going on in the parades today. The people are mainly over 60 years old. And this is a new time, a lot of which has nothing to do with Trump or any politician. It has to do with simply this is a new age. The whole reaction to Elon having to do with all the new stuff is going to land on the planet. Aren't we lucky that we have somebody that has already widened our lens and makes the young people admire the rockets and things that go off into space rather than it being like the older people kind of like in a cave. And then you have the younger people. So we're in a paradigm shift and old stuff is collapsing and it's very difficult. And if you're older and you weren't trained to have a wide lens, you got to be reacting against the people that appear to be the ones bringing the new stuff, but they're not. They're working with the new paradigm. They're not bringing it in. And I'm going to give you one story. Somebody's asking if I do workshops on telepathy. Our chats are free, and the last two chats we have worked and gone to the spaceships, and that's where we have the information about the dinosaur making a joke. So the chats are what you should join, and you don't have to join them actively. You can see them online after they're done, and you still get the benefit of my power of induction. But I was going to tell you a story, and I interrupted myself by responding to someone on the chat, and I don't remember what it was. So it will have to wait till the next time. So these are your horoscopes. I'm not an astrologer. I'm pulling in the information the same way as when somebody asks me a question about their health or about their business. We are in fascinating times. The Mayans did not say that the world was going to end. The Mayans said that the world as we knew it was going to end. And that was because of a vibration change in 2012. And we are feeling it fully now. And you go, yeah, but that was 2012. What, 13 years ago? That's nothing having to do with the history of the planet. Again, widen your lens and you will be able to navigate this much more successfully. There's no reason why you can't do better once the paradigm once this, whatever it is going to happen, but not if you're fighting what's going to happen, what happens, because you're not going to be able to fight that. This is a change that was predicted 5,000 years ago. And in the Bible, they talk about it. Why do you think that hanging on to the old stuff is going to position you well? You don't. It's just a reaction. So the way you can work with that is through a mantra, because it takes that energy of reaction and puts it into vitalizing your intention. You don't know what you want? You don't have to know what you want. The mantra on screen is good enough. Please, God, help me with my intention that it be miraculously and graceful and beneficial. And you can put beneficial for me, beneficial for my country, beneficial for, I wouldn't limit it to bank accounts because maybe we won't need bank accounts. So try to have your lens wide. Be available for the new stuff. And it's not a question of buying into it, it's a question of working with it. I remember what I wanted to tell you. You know, Elon's one of my favorite people. But I have a wide lens because I was thrown into all of this since I was 5 years old and younger. I did not like the whole thing with the chip. You put a chip in people and then they can operate a computer and they can move a leg. I'm a Cancer, kind of by nature conservative, even in spite of all my training. So about a year ago, we became aware that there was a huge spaceship on top of the pyramids. So I said to my group, let's practice up. Let's go and enter. So we had a chat in which we entered the spaceship on top of Egypt. And so I was talking to the ETs, several of the other people were, and a lot of people in the chats don't say what they see because they're afraid maybe they made a mistake. So I was talking with one of the beings in the spaceship. I was trained in interspecies communication by the US government, by the way, and I worked in interspecies communication. And the ET told me that the spaceship was a continuation of his mind. In other words, a creation of his mind. And then he said, that's what Elon is doing to get everyone used to that. And I went, wow. So whereas we can react to what Elon is doing, this stuff, and they're going to put a chip in us, and and that's understandable if your lens is like this. But if you widen it and take into consideration this that the ET said, that the spaceship is an extension of their mind, then you go, so we're going to be practicing up. So you have to widen your lens. You don't really have an option, because if not, you'll be an old fuddy-duddy and you'll be part of the group that basically may destabilize the planet because it's change that's so radical. How do I know that? Well, everybody's saying it, not just me, but when I see these spaceships that are green, that change direction, give me a break. Are you believing the scientists when they say they don't know what it is, but it changes direction? Obviously, there's a being making a decision to change direction. Comets don't do that. Meteorites don't do that. You have to stop listening to people or obeying people that are saying stuff that doesn't make any sense. And I say, if that story that your religion is teaching you, or that your cult or your people are telling you to believe in, if you were a kid and you came home from school and repeated that story to your mother, and she would look at you and say, what the hell is that story all about? If that's what they're teaching you, that you can't question it, you're going to be in really hot water now. So you need to learn to question things. If it doesn't make any sense, then maybe you need to look for new people to use for information. Maybe you need to update. And it is scary. It really is. I understand that. Okay, that's it then. And thank you. I hope you enjoyed it, and share them if you find them interesting. Again, I'm not a substitute for a regular astrologer. I'm not an astrologer. This is information, and I'm always looking to facilitate the process of human evolution, not for you to find out if you're going to get that job or if your wife's going to leave you or whether you should move to Alaska. That's not the level, which is the mundane, which is important. That's why I'm saying you should get another astrologer. I work trying to give you information on the bigger picture, and it kind of gets you used to it. It's kind of interesting because we've done those 2 chats where we've gone inside these green things that are moving towards us at who knows how many miles an hour. 2 chats. And today I did the horoscopes. We talked about it a lot. It was kind of fun. We're talking about all of Venezuela doing the same mantra, and that would stabilize the country. I can't talk about everybody in the United States doing it because they're not too sure that they trust me because I was a psychic spy, and they have not developed their instinctive knowing. They're looking at authorities to tell them and give them permission. So I would love to have the United States all do the same mantra. It would make a huge difference. It's not going to happen because in this country, unfortunately, peoples have been disconnected from their instincts and have been trained and accepted the training of following stuff that doesn't even make any sense. And many of you are following religions that don't have any thoughts, opinions, or help with what's coming next. And yet they knew it was coming. Something was coming next. So anyway, bye.